The coins you see here on the screen are a continuation of my Ships on Coins series. These two Canadian coins, the 25-cent piece and the 10-cent piece, represent one of the history's birth of a legacy when it comes to Nova Scotia and the Smith and Rhuland shipyard. This particular ship is known as the BlueNose. Now, the original BlueNose was launched to the Grand Banks fishing and racing schooner on 26 March of 1921. It was launched from Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. As stated before, it was designed by William Rowe and built by the Smith and Rhuland shipping yard. Now, the BlueNose captain was Captain Angus Walters. He and the builders who crafted the sleek vessel had something to prove. So their sights were set on what was called the International Fisherman's Race. Now, this was a real thing because for a working fishing vessel, speed is a huge asset. Those people who made their catch and got to port first were able to fetch the highest prices. Now, the fisherman's race was no token of competition. It was no race for privileged yachts. This was a real race with the reputation of the Nova Scotia's pride in shipbuilding. From the moment the BlueNose took to sea, it was evident that she was unlike any other vessel. When she took home her first fisherman's trophy in October of 1921, the legend had begun. Now, she had beat repeatedly American ships that had tried to develop schooners that could compete. Now, there was only 1 year where the Americans beat the BlueNose, the first BlueNose, I should say. And that was due to a change in a rule that happened where they had to sail outside of the landward buoy. What that meant is that if the ship cut to the inside and crossed on the landward side of the buoy, they would be disqualified. And in the first race of two in 1925, the ship had no issues. But on the second pass, the ship actually went landward and the ship was disqualified. But the captain tried to rebut. Unfortunately, they were not able to complete that, and they ended up losing that particular race because they were disqualified. But outside of that, she was pretty dominant in her way of becoming the Canadian icon that she is today. Now, the BlueNose came to realize and symbolize Nova Scotia's prominence in the fishing and shipbuilding industries. She represented Canada around the world, and in 1933 appeared at the Century of Progress World's Fair in Chicago and sailed to England's Silver Jubilee of King George V in 1935. The majestic image of the BlueNose has adorned the Canadian dime and quarter and 3 postage stamps since 1937. It's also on the Nova Scotia license plate. The second BlueNose was a reborn version of the first. The original BlueNose had struck a reef off the island of Vauche on Haiti on the 28th of January, 1946, and was sunk and lost to the sea. Now, this really weighed heavy on the hearts and minds of many Canadians, especially those in Nova Scotia. So approximately 18 years later, the BlueNose 2 was launched. It was built by many of the same people who had worked on the original vessel in the same shipyard in Lunenburg. The project was financed by Olin Brewery to advertise their products while also promoting Nova Scotia's maritime heritage and tourism. Now, the use of this particular vessel in the fishing industry had kind of gone to the wayside because in 1933, when they started utilizing boats to push the schooners, the windblown vessels had a hard time maintaining and keeping up with these faster vessels. So these ships had to be utilized for different purposes. The BlueNose 2 sails out of Lunenburg and still visits port throughout Nova Scotia and North America. Frequently, it's open to the public, and it offers things like cruises and onboard access to many of those who admire the ship. In its role as an ambassador, the BlueNose 2 has been frequently presented for trade visits and international promotions all throughout Canada, specifically Nova Scotia. The historic vessel is unrivaled in its legacy and is a living reminder of a glorious sailing era. For an entirely new generation, it's a fitting introduction to Canada's past maritime heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Frostbite, continuing the series on ships on coins. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time. And as always, have a great day.